Thank you, Maggie. All right, well, this is my first time at 1 Million Cups as well, but I'm going to just jump right into it because I know I only have a few minutes. So I am one of the co-founders of Fluid, the learning water meter, and basically we're very bullish on water. Part of the reason for that is that it plays a key role in our daily lives because we've got this water drought, this crisis happening in the West. And really the only relationship that people have with their water is through their monthly water bill. And so nobody really understands how they use water in their homes. So what we've done is we've built a Internet of Things hardware device that's very easy to install that a homeowner can purchase at like a Best Buy, Target, Home Depot, take it home, and it just clamps on the main pipe coming into your house. You plug it in, you connect it to your Wi-Fi network. And what it's going to do is it's going to help homeowners better understand their water usage habits and behaviors. It's going to help them conserve water and save money. There's also a number of other features that are part of Fluid. Leak detection is a big one, real-time monitoring, and then this idea of setting a goal and tracking your progress against that goal. So that's Fluid. So like I said, it's a small device. Take it home. It clamps onto the pipe. You plug it in. You connect it to your Wi-Fi network. Now, the way that we can tell people like what percentage of their water usage comes from dishwashing versus showers versus lawn irrigation versus flushes and things like that is we use something that we call signatures. So we've got this algorithm that will allow someone to select the source of water, and then they tell Fluid to listen, and it will watch, for example, your dishwasher's run cycle, and it'll create an actual signature for that. So in the future, when it sees this run cycle happen again, it knows to attribute that water usage back to that device. So we believe Fluid's time has come because of three main trends, right? We have the smart home IoT trend that exists. If you go into any of these large big box retailers, they already have end caps that have all kinds of smart lighting, smart security, smart thermostat solutions. Fluid will be the water solution sitting on that end cap. We've talked about the drought and water crisis, and then there's this last trend, which is that consumers really want to understand how their habits affect the world around them. So if you think about like a Fitbit, some people put these on their wrists so they can understand how many steps they take in a day or how their sleeping patterns work. And what they want to do is they want to see that data so that they can change their behavior if they'd like. And so Fluid allows that same principle to work for water and water conservation. So I'm just going to run through this really quickly. We did a Kickstarter. We raised $116,000 from close to 600 backers, got some pretty good press. Since the Kickstarter, we continue to get pre-orders on our website. People are paying $259 right now, pre-orders of Fluid. We've had inbound requests for distributorships and people wanting to buy Fluid in more than 41 countries around the world. Fluid right now, we're only shipping, we only will be shipping to the United States. Because of the success of the Kickstarter, we've had a lot of companies and corporates reach out to us. They have applications for our technology. We have some of the large home builders who said that they want to put these into the homes that they're building because that's what consumers are asking for, so that they can sell new homes already with a Nest thermostat, already with a Fluid water meter installed. A lot of other companies that represent really great opportunities for Fluid. We've had utilities reach out to us, and we've talked to a number of utilities that are really looking for ways to empower their consumers, their clients, to save water. And so we've had conversations about doing paid pilots, for example, with some utilities where they would buy 500 or 1,000 meters and install them in homes of their consumers and then watch the trends and see if there is actual conservation that happens or not. And if so, then they are talking about rebate programs and other things that they could do to incentivize consumers to buy fluid. So kind of what does this look like? So moving forward with our product roadmap, so we'd like to, currently fluid, the backers, the Kickstarter backers, are all receiving a fluid water meter for a 3/4 inch copper pipe. And we've had a lot of people say, hey, can you do 1 inch? Can you do PVC? Can you do galvanized pipe? Different size pipes, right? We also have a lot of people who have expressed interest in using our application in oil fields and irrigation systems and other water filtration systems, things like that. And so there's a tremendous amount of kind of other applications that are out there. So Fluid is poised to have a really big year in 2017. I was just in China last week working with our contract manufacturer. We'll be manufacturing our first 1,000 units in January of this year and shipping to our Kickstarter backers. And then we'll have 1,000 units deployed. We are seeking seed round funding at this time to help us build inventory, continue to do hardware and software development, make a large order of 10,000 units, and do some business and development. So that's Fluid. I don't know if I ran over my 6 minutes or not, but thank you, and I'm really looking forward to your questions.
Nice clean presentation, Josh. I appreciate that. The question we like to ask all of our presenters today is, what is it that this business, what is it that this community can do for your business?
Great question. So really, we're seeking funding right now. We feel like we have a lot of our ducks in a row around supply chain and manufacturing. We have a lot of our ducks in a row around the business development. And so, we need to build inventory, and in a hardware startup, that is not an inexpensive proposition. And so that's what our biggest need is at this time.
Great. Let me bring around the microphone for those that have questions.
Great presentation, Josh.
Thanks.
Can you describe a little bit about your beta users or your, the user experience so far, given that you're waiting for the first run of full production for January? What's been tested or proven out so far?
Yeah, so really we have 5 prototypes that are in like our own homes, and we are using them to collect data and then build software and improve accuracy. And so we don't have a large beta test. We'll be getting, we're doing a short run of manufacturing now in November of 80 meters. And our plan is to have those distributed by the end of November, December, where we're going to have more of a finished app so that our users can take a look and see how the user interface actually works and things like that. But we haven't, we're still a really early stage startup. We haven't gotten to the point where we have even 100 of these distributed yet. Good question.
Thank you, Josh. Nice presentation. Can you tell us a little bit more about these signatures? Because in some of the historic homes, there's quite a distance from the water line coming into the house and the dishwasher, maybe 2 or 3 stories up. And how does that signature communicate? I'm not quite clear on that.
Sure. So basically, this is an ultrasonic meter. Ultrasonic technology has been in the field in kind of commercial and industrial applications for decades. And so there's two sensors in here. They use sound. It just puts sound through the pipe, and then because of, and I'm not an engineer, but because of the flow of the water, then it can see time of flight, and it can calculate how much flow is coming through the pipe. All right? And so if you flush a toilet, that toilet will run for a certain duration, and it will consume a certain amount of gallons in a certain time. And so you you will literally see like the consumption go up and then it stops, right? And so even in my own home, my upstairs toilet has a different signature than my basement toilet, right? One of them runs for a little bit longer. The leading edge of that curve looks a little bit different, and so with the algorithm, you can start to really understand, okay, that was a toilet flush. Now, the question always happens, well, what happens if someone's showering and a toilet gets flushed, right? And so part of Fluid being a learning water meter is it's going to start asking the homeowner questions. Did a toilet flush just occur when the shower was on, right? And then the consumer, through the in-app notifications, can say yes or no. And so what Fluid's going to start to do over time is understand that, and I think this is true for everyone, we all kind of have habits and routines, right? And so it's going to understand that every morning, 2 people in your home take showers and toilets get flushed and things like that. And so it's going to be able to start being smart about, with machine learning, about attributing water usage. Now, it's not going to be like down to the gallon by any means, but you're going to have a really good visibility into how, when, and where you use water, whereas right now, all you get is a water bill that says, in the city of St. Paul, it says you use 17 units of water and it costs you $60, and that means nothing to me, right?
Josh, tell us a little bit more about your seed round. How large, what form will the investment take, how much equity, if it's equity, are you giving up, et cetera?
Okay, so the seed round, we're seeking $800,000. We've closed on 100 of that. We're looking at just common stock right now. And so anyone who's really interested in more information on that, I guess I'd want to meet with you, get you to sign a NDA, and we can talk more about the financials and valuation and things like that.
Yeah, I was wondering, there's other fluid monitoring and dynamics companies in the Twin Cities, such as Pentair. I was wondering how your product differs from them. Is it in the computer, the output on your computer, or what exactly is different about yours than other fluid flow monitoring companies?
Yeah, so there's a lot of differences between what we're trying to accomplish and other more traditional flow monitoring companies. One is who we're selling to. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. Pentair isn't even thinking about selling to consumers directly through channels like big box retail and things like that. Nor are the Badger meters or the Census meters or the people who sell, those really expensive meters that are in your home to utilities. They aren't interested in selling directly to consumers either. So I think one of the key differentiators is that. The second is the signatures and the ability to show, what percentage of your water usage goes to different types of things. Whereas a lot of these monitoring systems or flow sensors will tell you total flow or real-time flow, but they aren't going to be able to tell you, what percentage of your water came from lawn irrigation this month. So there's a number of other key differences. We're not in line. This can be installed by anybody here in the room. You just clamp it on, plug it in, connect it to your Wi-Fi network. So there's a number of things that we're doing, and our focus is so much different from kind of the traditional metering companies that we feel like there's a lot of blue ocean out there.
I have 2 questions. One is, what are you doing by what method are you protecting your intellectual property? Is it trade secrets? Is it patents? Or just mutual NDAs? How you're handling that? And then the second thing is you have an IoT device. So I assume you're not developing the IoT yourself, and you're probably second sourcing that from someone else and integrating it into your system somehow.
Okay, 2 questions. So the first one is about kind of IP, intellectual property. So, like I said, ultrasonic metering has been ubiquitous in kind of industrial markets for decades. It's not like we can patent that specific technology. WiFEC technology we're not going to be able to patent. But we've done some patent work on kind of the combination of those factors. We don't have anything filed at this time. We're actually working with our contract manufacturer on kind of finalizing some of the key components. Once those are done, we will do like some more kind of deep dive into our ability to at least patent some of those key components. With regard to your second question, remind me, IoT. So, we have our own cloud-hosted server, so all the data will come through the homeowner's Wi-Fi to our cloud and then back down to the homeowner's device, be it their mobile device or their tablet or their desktop. So we have that cloud-hosted server. However, we are already looking at integrations with some of the other smart home IoT platforms like SmartThings, which is a company that came out of the Twin Cities. They're no longer here. And there's Wemo, and there's Iris, and there's a lot of other smart home companies. But luckily, a lot of those companies are opening APIs and allowing for companies like ours to do easy integration so that if a consumer already has a SmartThings hub in their home, then we can just easily integrate. Yep.
So are you guys actually collecting mass amounts of water usage data? And if so, who owns that data, you or the consumer? And with that data, I would feel that there are companies out there who would like to have that data.
Very
Are you gonna
good.
Sell
Yes.
that data, or what are you doing with it?
I agree with you entirely. Yeah. So the reason for us making sure that we have our own cloud-hosted environment is that we own the data, right? So in January, we're going to have 1,000 of these devices deployed, and we're going to have 1,000 homeowners telling us how they use water in their homes. So imagine what kind of value that might have to a company like American Standard, right? Who sells toilets and other things, sinks, faucets, showers to consumers, right? So yeah, we believe that the data will have a tremendous amount of value to corporations, to utilities, to research institutes. So yeah, that's definitely part of our model.
Consumers aren't concerned enough about conservation, but they are concerned about their bills. Have you been able to translate this data into payback?
Yeah, so I'm going to answer that in two ways. So when we survey our Kickstarter backers, the close to 600 people who bought these, they didn't buy them because they want to get a payback. It wasn't as much about saving water as it was about kind of that Fitbit principle that I talked about. It's about them understanding, am I living out my values? There's like an intrinsic motivation, at least from our Kickstarter backers, around why they're interested in having this in their home. So that's one part. The second part is, there is a reality around payback. So if you buy this for $259 and it catches a running toilet that has been left on running in your home for a month, it's going to pay itself back. If it catches a garden hose that got left on for a couple of hours, it's going to start paying itself back. If it catches a leak that is starting to completely get into your drywall, and we have insurance companies, some venture funds, American Standard, American Family Ventures, and Liberty Mutual Ventures have been in conversations with us because they can see that, hey, if I put this into my customers' homes and it stops a leak 5 hours before the customer comes home from work, the damages that they will save themselves will pay themselves back easily. So there's a number of use cases that make it really easy to pay itself back.
And do you have an idea how big your early adopter marketplace might be, your trendsetters, shall we say?
I don't have
How you're going to reach them?
I don't have a number off the top of my head, No, I have some market research that just shows like the growth in the IoT space and the smart home space and what that's going to look like over the next 5 to 10 years, and it's dramatic. The kind of the curve that you see between now and 2019 is the data that I have. So consumers are definitely looking at this smart home IoT stuff, and it's only going to grow, and we're really bullish on water.
I come to this with a perspective as a patent attorney, and I'm concerned that you don't have any patent applications on file. I think you're in a race with whoever your competitors are. And just from what you've presented here, someone else could take the idea and run with it. So I'd encourage you to work with a patent attorney and get something filed, certainly before January. But we're in a different environment now. Patent system has changed, and we're in a first to invent, first file system. And so you're in a race.
Thanks. Yeah. You know, we are aware that you can get protections from patents. There's also a question of enforceability and whether or not you can actually enforce them. So there's a lot of conversations that we're having about that space. I'd be happy to talk to you more about it offline if you want.
I was just going to go stand over here by Warren because I knew he'd have a question sooner or later.
Any thought to output of data? For example, when I had a teenage son in the house who'd take a half an hour shower, I would turn off the hot water. Any thoughts to that? And how did you determine a price point that you're at?
How do we determine a price point? You know, I think a price point was determined by kind of consumer behavior for us. So we set, in our Kickstarter campaign, we set $2.99 as a retail price. And then if you participate in our campaign, you would get a discount on that retail price. Currently on our website, pre-orders are happening at $259. And so we demonstrated that people are willing to part with $259 for this device. And I think that's a huge kind of hurdle when you think about startups. Like, we actually have people parting with their money to pre-order something in the hopes that we'll deliver what we say. And so I think that there's a lot of you know, validity to that as a price point. So, and then how did we get to the $299? Well, we just looked at, well, what does this cost us, and then what does that kind of math need to look like when we contemplate having to pay, you know, our distribution channels and retailers. Everybody needs a sip of that, right? So that's how you get to that point. Oh, the output of the data. So, you know, also I didn't mention on our product roadmap, we're looking at a Wi-Fi enabled shutoff valve. So you could, instead of having to run downstairs, you could just like tell your phone, hey, shut off the water on my son's 20-minute shower. Or if it's your cabin and you're down here and it all of a sudden says, hey, you've got water flowing in your cabin, you could shut off the water immediately. So there's a number of you know, there's a pretty significant product roadmap that we have developed that, you know, with funding, we feel like we can really execute on this. And a lot of, going back to kind of intellectual property and everything, a lot of it, this has, with consumers, has to do with understanding those intrinsic motivations, and then it's about brand, right? It's about the brand resonating with people. It's about the brand being in places where consumers see it. It's about them saying, talking to each other at cocktail parties about how they have one of these in their homes. So there's a really important piece to like consumer electronics around brand And I think, we've done a good job with Fluid.
You know, I think it's not an uncommon scenario where people will have a toilet running and they know they need to get that taken care of, but aren't thinking about what the cost is in terms of how much water usage there is, or the cost to their wallet when it comes the bill a month,
Right.
2 months later. So I think for that alone, it can be a great idea. We have time for just one more question here.
I manage a facility, so I think that commercial, I work for the government, but those areas, I think you might really look at that. When I took over a year and a half ago, we were using 1.8 million gallons of water a quarter, bill of $27,000 a year. So I got that down to 800,000 gallons a quarter now, but looking into, I could do that with building automation, but the meters alone are $800 a piece. So connecting that to a cloud software and everything gets a lot more expensive. So I like what you have here. I think it's something that if you had it on the market in a 2-inch size, I'd be buying them right now. So,
There you go.
all right.
Thank you.
Good testimonial. Thank you, Josh, for a great presentation.
Thank you very much.